Okay, welcome back everybody to the Level Up podcast. And we are here again today talking about, I think this is going to be a great topic, Greg. Welcome back. And I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so we're talking about today, scripts and dialogues, and people hear us talking about this all the time. It's my favorite subject, is talking about scripts, dialogues, and how to be effective with them. But the title's a little bit different, and we're going to talk about why they aren't working. So
yes,
for those that may be tuning in for the first time to hear our conversation on this topic, let's get everybody up to speed and define the difference between a script and a dialogue. And they're not the same. And then we can get going.
Yeah. Let me take that in the beginning, Brendan. I've been saying this on a few different training platforms that we have. I've been saying, I feel like the industry's confused. I feel like coaches, not to make anybody wrong, but I think leadership, coaches, brokers, owners, they've kind of confused agents and kind of maybe made intimidated agents around how they explain scripts and dialogues. Like they say, you need to learn your scripts. You got to learn your scripts. You got to go in and you got to be scripted and scripted, as if every word has to be planned out before you go into that presentation, and it has to be perfectly designed. And when they say this, you have to say this, and you got to say this, and take control. Don't let them control it. Like there's a lot of dialogue like that around scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where over the years, what I figured out is there is a difference between scripts and dialogues. And scripts are this to me. Scripts is like one or two sentences that works about every time to enter into a conversation. Now, the conversation is really a dialogue. A script allows you to get into a dialogue. And then a script allows you to kind of set an appointment. So scripts are either intro or they're outro, but they're not the in between. Mm-hmm. Hey, it's Greg Harrelson with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. Another property just sold. We know when one sells, a lot of times another one will go on the market. Just kind of curious, when do you plan on moving? And then now all of a sudden you ask the question. Now, depending on their answer, you're going to now be in a dialogue. But that was a script. And then at the end, after the dialogue, said, it sounds like you are thinking about doing something. I'd love to come sit down with you, share with you what needs to be done. Would 2:00 be okay or 3 be better? That's a script that leads me out of the dialogue to setting an appointment and then getting off the phone. In between is the conversation. I think one thing that doesn't work is people are feeling pressure as agents that the entire presentation and conversation is one long script, and they don't want to be on one long script. They resist it. They're not comfortable. They're not confident. Therefore, they just wing it and don't use any planned dialogues.
Yep. So such a great, succinct explanation on them. So intro, or your script in the beginning, is who I am, why I'm calling or why we're engaged in a conversation, and what we're going to talk about. That's your opening script.
I love it.
Yeah. Exiting, then for an appointment, let's say it's an appointment, then it's, okay, let's recap so you know that I'm listening to you. I'm hearing you, what you're saying. You are thinking about selling. And here's our next step. And now we go ahead and we agree on what our next step is. And it could be the same if it's not an appointment. I'm hearing you. You're not doing anything. You don't know anybody that I can help. You know what? I want to keep giving you value over the years. So let's go ahead and get an email and get off the phone. So very, very clear framework in the intro and the outro.
Yes.
Okay.
100%. 100%. That's what I feel.
So let's get into the dialogue part, because that's the meat. One of the things I'm seeing, I'm observing, I feel like we're in, if you looked at markets in, I don't want to say volatility, but let's talk about just a normal everyday market or extreme markets. I feel like we're in an extreme market. It happens to be seller, it's an extreme seller market, not a lot of inventory. But I think the same thing happens when we're in an extreme buyer market with a ton of inventory. What I see happening right now is, because the market is so extreme, then everybody that you talk to, every consumer, every property owner right now, every buyer is at a different stage in the game, because the market's just so crazy. Whereas if you looked in, let's say we've been in the same market for 4 or 5 years, it's just kind of normal. Everything's been the same. Everybody is probably established where they're in the market. If you talk to them last year, nothing major's changed. Nothing's changed with them. They didn't leave a job. They're not moving. They don't have another 100,000 in equity in their home. They're probably going to have the same answer as 12 months ago. Now, because it's so crazy, we talked to somebody 9 months ago, have a great conversation with them, and now we talk to them today. We might not be able to use the same conversation, the same answers. They're going to have different questions. Like, it's what you thought you knew 9 months ago may not work today.
Yeah, and there's where, okay, so that's where, and I don't know that, I think you're the one that actually said this. I remember you said something, I'm like, that's pretty good. And it was something like, when a market shifts, the only really thing that shifts is the conversation. It's just the conversation. The conversation changes, right? Whether it's an extremely good market, extremely bad market, the conversation changes. But if you're an agent and you're thinking everything's got to follow this one script, then there's not a lot of room for change and flexibility and versatility in the conversation when you're trying to force the conversation to follow this one script. So whether the market's bad, you could use a script. Hey, one sold, another one usually sells. When do you plan on moving? Okay, I'm shortening that quite much. But that script can be used in every single market, hot, cold, or in between. Now, the answers to that could be to, in a down market, oh no, I'm not going to sell now. No, we're staying here forever. In a hot market, well, I don't know, everything's for sale. What's what are prices doing right now? Like, see, their answers to the same question shifts, and that's where we have to have the versatility to adapt to today's conversation and actually converse with them and start asking the question. Maybe we ask a few different questions than we did, but again, that's all dialogue.
Yeah. And the other thing was, you mentioned you feel like agents have a lot of pressure. I've talked with agents that want to know, like, can you give me the script way past the intro, who I am, why I'm calling, and what we're going to talk about, past that into the dialogue. And they're like, can you write this out? Like, can you give me like that whole part that you just talked about? And my answer is always, well, I can role play it with you. You can listen. You can hear the concept, adopt the thinking, and then go ahead and figure out, okay, when that comes up, when that answer comes up, how do I answer that? But if you ask me that 10 times, or that different seller gives me that same response 10 different times, it's not a script. It's how I know, okay, he said this, which means now I've got to get him from here to my next question, and then my next one, which is ultimately going to tell me whether or not they're doing anything. That dialogue is not something that's written out, memorized, internalized. It's something that you understand how to get from A to Z. And what's so important about that, and why that skill is so critical, is when I know, based off of what their answer is, okay, now I have to go through this series of questions to get him here. It allows me a really, really important thing that I can do for that client, and that's listen. I no longer have to think about, well, man, what was I supposed to say here? He said something I've never heard before. Stuck, stumped, I'm out of luck. No, I know how to get them there. So now I can really listen, and I can be present to what they're saying. I can hear the little things. And now they're like, they feel that I'm listening, and we get to that together.
Yeah, man, you're just really dropping some good information there. Why scripts and dialogues aren't working. That's kind of what our subject is. And one of the reasons why they're not working is because a lot of people think of scripts as what they need to be saying. What makes it work is scripts get them talking, and then it becomes about what you hear them saying. So, scripts and dialogues, the challenge is it's usually all about us talking and talking and talking. Like, let's plan out what we're going to say. How about let's plan out how we're going to listen. And one thing, if you're thinking about what you're going to say next, then that puts more pressure on you to like, okay, I got to think about what I'm going to say next. What am I going to say next? Okay, this is perfect thing to say next. But when you're thinking about like, you know what, I'm just going to be a great listener. It's amazing. Like when you really become a great listener in these dialogues, it's almost like what needs to be said next almost comes instinctively. It's amazing how when you focus on listening, the right thing tends to come out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're focusing on what you're going to say next, it's like just luck if it comes out right. And I think that's what's not working. What's not working is we're taught to actually talk.
Yeah.
We haven't been taught to listen.
Yeah. So good. So we ask a question. I ask a question. You answer the question. Your answer to the question dictates my next question. So when I have all the questions that I need,
Yeah.
your answer is going to dictate where we go. When are you planning on selling? Oh, not for a while yet. Oh, so you are thinking about selling, just not for a while. Now, are you thinking in a couple of weeks, or is it going to be like middle part of 2022? Sometime probably then. And then we just keep following it down this path where we're listening to what they're saying. And every question we asked is based off their previous answer, but it's going in the direction that we want.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it.
That's good. Well, I think that's good. I mean, we don't want to go too deep where we confuse ourselves. I think we've actually handled it right there. So good. So those are some thoughts that Brendan and I have about why scripts are not working. And the reality is that, look, scripts is all about the intro and the outro, and it's really nothing more than a conversation in between. It's just the conversation bridges the gap between the entrance into the conversation and the exiting of the conversation, which leads you to an appointment. And surely, hopefully it does. So Brendan, well, good. What's the best way to reach you, Brendan, if somebody wants to just kind of, give you a high five or something?
Yeah, always just, you can reach out to me through Facebook Messenger is a great way. And I'll also mention that on Real Estate Sales Solutions, there is, if you want to get I don't even know how many hours of content's on there, but a few of us got together. We've got a whole objection handling series that is really, it's everything pretty much. You're going to get the intro and the outro. You're going to get the scripts, but it's just jam-packed full of dialogues around the common seller objections right now. And you get 4 different versions. There's 4 of us that all went through, answered it our own way. And I'd encourage you to check that out.
Yeah, that's Handling Objections Mastery, I think, course is what that's called. And that is when we finish that course, I look back and I say, wow, that's got some really phenomenal content. And you'll see script books with people handling objections. What we actually did is we role played and handled objections together. And then we gave the psychology behind why we said what we said. So we handled the objection, but then we shared, why did I say this? And why did I say that? What were we trying to get out of or accomplish by doing that? So yes, that's a great one. And then of course we do a coaching program called Agent Success Academy. If you want to join, go to agentsuccessacademy.net, check it out. Until then, Brendan, thank you so much. And thank you everybody. Have a great one.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.